Breaking news this morning, the Supreme Court has just handed down a high-profile decision in a landmark case. The court rejected President Trump's executive order attempting to restrict birthright citizenship. 9 News legal expert Whitney Traylor is here with us to break down the impact. Thanks for coming in.
Sure.
This just came down.
Thanks for not leaving.
Yeah, thank you for not walking out the door. So tell us a little bit about the ruling.
Well, it just came down. It's 150 pages long, and not surprisingly, it ended how I think a lot of experts, including myself, would have agreed, that you can't override the 14th Amendment, birthright citizenship, the citizenship clause, with an executive order. And so the court just came down, and it was a 6-3 decision, and they basically said, no, birthright citizenship is the law, and it's still the law. And there was a quote, I just printed it out. Sorry, I ran over. Let me take a breath. Okay.
I know we had to grab him last minute, before he was running out the door.
Right, but we knew the decision was going to come down today. And it's really interesting because since January of 25, when this executive order was issued, everyone was waiting for this decision. And it turned out to be the very last decision that the court announced on its last day of the term.
Right.
And so Justice Roberts, who wrote the opinion, he actually, I think, summarized it quite nicely here. And he said, citizenship then and now was the right to have rights to freely participate in our political community. The framers of the 14th Amendment extended that promise to every freeborn person in this land. We keep that promise today. So what that means is, if you were born on the soil, it's known as jus soli, the right of the soil. If you were born here, regardless of the status of your parents, you were deemed to be a U.S. citizen.
Does this come as a surprise to you, or did you have a feeling this was the way it was going to go?
No, this definitely wasn't a surprise. This was how we anticipated it going, because with the stroke of a pen, with an executive orders are specifically for the president to sort of direct these federal agencies. So to override a constitutional amendment is really, would have been shocking. And really, when you think about the history of this particular amendment, because this was to address the Dred Scott decision. And the Dred Scott decision in 1857 said that black people, free or enslaved, are not U.S. citizens, essentially creating this subclass of people, saying no matter what, you're not a citizen. So that's why then, about 9 years later, or 11 years later, the 14th Amendment was passed, and that's where they said, no, if you're born here, you are a citizen regardless of the status of your parents. That was reaffirmed in the Wong Kim Ark case in 1898, where the court said, they reaffirmed it. The court said this is what the 14th Amendment means. And so for all these years, we've had that interpretation. So for one president to come and try and override that with an executive order is just not constitutional.
So the Supreme Court ruled on this.
Yes.
Is this it? Is this over, or can something else happen here?
Essentially, it's over. Now, I didn't get to read the whole 150-page opinion, but it sounds like the court did say that if you want to change this, then Congress can maybe make some changes to these amendments. And of course, you can override an amendment and there's ways to do that. But essentially, the court said, no, this is a right that's enshrined in the 14th Amendment. It is a constitutional protection. And so I know there's a lot of people that are taking a nice deep breath at this point, because one of the issues was, if this executive order was deemed to be lawful, how would you do that practically?
Right.
Because then even your birth certificate wouldn't be evidence of your legality in this country. And so the notion, we're already seeing that with ICE and demanding to see papers. You see now on your reels and everything else, folks saying, are you in the country lawfully? Let me see your papers. Let me see your ID. Just everyday people. So imagine if this executive order was in place, that type of sentiment would be completely amplified, and people would be trying to, let me see your papers. Citizens, law enforcement, it just as a practical matter, I think it would have created a lot of genuine issues.
This is the second time the Supreme Court has ruled against Trump. The first one, I believe, was about the tariffs.
Right.
And they struck that one down. Do these say anything about like what the future holds?
No, I don't know that it necessarily points to what the future holds, because we can look at so many other things that this court has done, expanding the executive power with respect to other issues.
Right.
So here, no, this isn't. This is consistent, I think, with the law. And even though we have this very conservative court, and interestingly, it was a 6-3 decision, but it was John Roberts with some of the liberal justices who concurred in complete fashion, and it was Thomas and Gorsuch who dissented. So it was an interesting breakup of the court. It wasn't the conservative bloc with the liberal bloc.
It's very interesting, and we so appreciate you sticking around here, jumping on the desk last minute for us to break this down.
Yeah.
Whitney, you're the best.
Oh,
Thank you.
man, it's good to be here. This is an important case, so I'm really glad that we were able to do it in real time, because this is a really fundamental case that a lot of people were waiting for the opinion to come down.
And it came down just moments ago. Obviously, you were out of breath.